I do want to say that today LIBA is presenting a debate. We are not presenting a position. LIBA has not taken a position on mayoral term limits. LIBA is also planning to host a debate on the ballot question to expand Medicaid. We'll do that at another luncheon prior to the November 6th election. At this time, LIBA has not taken a position on either one of these ballot questions, but our board of directors thought it was important to hold these debates in order to raise awareness and to initiate a public discussion on two very important public policy issues. So, with that, I'm going to turn things over to our moderator from 1400 KLIN, Jack Mitchell.
All right, thank you very much, Cody. By the way, that's shady being the auctioneer and winning the auction at the same time, just so you know. Good afternoon. I'm Jerry Mitchell from KLIN Radio, and I will be moderating today's debate for the Lincoln Independent Business Association. The general public, as well as LIBA members, were invited to attend today. There will not be any opening remarks by the representatives. Each representative may give 1.5 minutes of closing remarks, so we'll do that at the end. We drew lots to see who goes first on the first question, and see who goes first on closing remarks. And I think Kathleen is first. We got number one. Lucky you. All right, so it looks like she will go first on those. Each representative is allowed to distribute literature at the LIBA Luncheon today, and they may refer to this material and or notes during the debate. Props and graphs will not be used by any representative. Representatives will also be allowed to ask questions of each other. However, as moderator, I'm going to manage the questions to ensure we maintain order. We'll just try and keep them within the time limit, but if a question is asked, I'll allow the other side to answer that. Members of the media develop and will ask the questions today. Our media panelists are to my left is Jane Monik from KLIN and Charlie Rogan from KFOR. Each representative is going to have 1.5 minutes to answer the question, and then I'm going to give you 30-second rebuttals for each of you, or you may waive that rebuttal time. That's all right as well. And so let's welcome the debaters today. Joining us are J.L. Sprague from Matson Ricketts Law Firm and Kathleen Neary from Powers Law. Let's give them a hand for being there. I believe, according to the drawing, Kathleen, you are going to get the first question, so I'm going to set my clock at 90 seconds. And by the way, just so you guys know, I'll put this up when you've got 30. It's very clear there. And then when we're at 90, we'll stop you there for 30 on rebuttals. And hopefully that will work that way. I'm going to give Jane the first question because she's sitting next to me. So go ahead, Jane.
Okay, first question, very simple, very basic. Why or why not term limits? Why do we need that in there?
Well, we're not here to talk about term limits. That's a debate that I'm certainly willing to have at some point. But what we're doing today is talking about the timing of the term limits on this mayoral election and about voter transparency. So after Mayor Beitler has handily won 3 re-election bids because of his fabulous contribution to this community and the leadership that he's shown, he re-announces, and then just shortly before the petition initiative can be submitted to be on the ballot, we have people circulating a petition to limit the term limit of only the mayor of the city of Lincoln. And who in this room is in favor of term limits? All right. If we're going to do term limits, folks, shouldn't we do them for all the city council members too? Right? Why is the Republican Party targeting Mayor Beitler? That's the issue that we're here to talk about today. And we're going to hear some discussion also, thank you, about why they did it. Well, I think as the Lincoln Journal-Star said, it's shameful. It is not even a good cover-up. The Republicans have been unable to unseat Mayor Beitler in 3 elections, period. They had to find a way to unseat him by targeting a term limit that is retroactive. Right? Retroactive to the voters. They didn't tell the voters on the petition.
Same question for you, J.L.
For my part, I don't think the timing could be better. There's no time that you can pass this initiative that you wouldn't have an incumbent mayor. And currently our mayor can serve for life. There's no limit of any kind. But I think most importantly, the reason why the nation has term limits on its chief executive, the president. We instituted that by a vote of the people. The state of Nebraska, in its constitution, term limits the governor and the state treasurer. both important constitutional offices. What it does is it promotes renewal and freshness, gives other people an opportunity to hold these offices and bring their ideas to the table. And I think it also intends to limit power, and I think we need to talk about that. Lincoln is very unique in the power that we've granted to our mayor through the city charter. The city attorney has told us in a letter, an attorney's opinion, to the city council and the mayor in 2016, that the Lincoln mayor is an autocrat. And this is an autocratic mayoral system. And if you look at the definition of autocrat on your cell phone, you'll find out that it's a one-person rule, like a monarch. And I think every once in a while you need to change kings if you're going to have kings in a community.
Ms. Neary, your rebuttal?
Sure. Again, this isn't about term limits. I am not taking a public position. I'm not speaking for the mayor. That's a discussion that can be had at a different time. But what they don't, in jail, we can have that discussion, but why didn't they do this a year ago? Why didn't they do it 2 years ago? Why didn't they do it 3 years ago? Why? Because if this passes in November, the Democrats are going to be scrambling to put up a candidate against the Republican nominee. It's dirty politics.
Mr. Sprague, your rebuttal?
Oh, I'm shocked to find out there's politics in politics, and that's always the accusation. I guess that's a reasonable statement from my good friend Kathleen Neary. She is a good friend for many years. We have an honest disagreement about this, and I think as citizens we ought to have this discussion.
All right, thank you very much. The next question will be directed to Mr. Sprague first. Charlie Rowan from Mayoral.
Mr. Sprague, why is the petition necessary if the general population is inclined to oppose a third term for the mayor? Why not just rely on the democratic process to work on its own? And for Ms. Neary, if the mayor has the popularity to be elected again, why even worry about it?
Well, let's be clear about this. The current mayor is serving an unprecedented third term as we speak. He's going to ask the voters to serve for a total of 16 years or maybe more, maybe 20 or 24, we don't know. But he's announced that he's going to ask the voters to serve for a full 16-year term, which is twice as long as any mayor in the history of Lincoln. In fact, the first 6 mayors only served 1 year. It wasn't until Mike Johann was mayor that any mayor in the city served 2 consecutive 4-year terms. And I just think that when you look at the power that the mayor has in an autocratic system and the power that can be wielded, we need change, we need freshness, we need renewal, and we need turnover in that position through some mechanism in the charter, the same mechanism that gives the mayor the power, that same mechanism in the charter to get renewal and new people involved in politics. By the way, I've got a couple seconds. I believe there's a couple circulators out front. If you'd like to sign the petition, we invite you to join us. And we're going to turn in our petition signatures this afternoon with more than a sufficient number to be on the ballot.
Ms. Neary, your response to Charlie's question.
Charlie, thanks for that great question. We're worried, I am worried, I'm not speaking for the mayor. I'm not on his campaign. I don't work for the mayor's office. I'm a private lawyer in private practice with your good friend Vince Powers. And Jail, I'm going to hand you a copy of the petition initiative that's being circulated. Where on that petition initiative does it say that is retroactive, that it is going to apply to Mayor Piper retroactively?
Well, what it says is that the mayor wouldn't, that a person who served 3 terms wouldn't be qualified to be on the ballot again.
Right, never in the state of Nebraska, ever, has term limits been retroactive. When 2000, we passed state term limits for our state senators, it did not go retroactive, right? It went forward-looking and did not deprive those persons who had already served from being tagged and having it applied retroactively. This is a real problem. So it's about the transparency. And Charlie, one other thing. I've been approached by a petition circulator, and I said, well, does this apply to Mayor Piper? And he said, no, of course not. He's only served 2 terms. We have also reports about people who have been told that it also applies to the city council, the term limit petition. There are lies being told, and I trust that they're not being done by the Republican Party or the hierarchy that's circulating this.
Mr. Sprague, I'll give you your 30 seconds to rebut.
Let me just rebut one thing. The city charter calls for the circulators to be citizens of Lincoln. And everybody circulating the petition on this matter is one of us. So that's who's doing it. That's who is being accused of lying here, are folks that want to get this initiative passed. I would guess that if we were truthful about it, any number of you would not have known for sure that Mayor Byler was in his third term, and you wouldn't have known for sure how long the longest serving governor had served, or mayor. So we're all allowed to be ill-informed once in a while. Thank you.
Ms. Neary, 30 seconds for you.
Boy, it seems like 100% of the time, based on the reports I'm getting, they're misinforming and lying to potential persons who are signing or considering signing these petitions.
All right, let's get to the next question. We'll start with this one for Ms. Neary from Jane Bonner.
Omaha Mayor Jean Stothard is just in her first year of a second term, only the second term, not even a third term, but she says she's considering running again. She says Omaha does not have term limits for their mayor. Is there a situation in Lincoln that is unique that would mean that Lincoln should have term limits for their mayor while Omaha should not? Or do you think this should also be applied to Omaha too? Although we can't obviously determine that.
Yeah, the difference is Chris Byler's a Democrat, Jean Stothard is a Republican. In the Republican Party, the hierarchy, the three individuals who are former elected or current elected officials and leaders of the Republican Party were really worried about term limits across the board. They would have done it fairly and squarely. How? Include the city council, right? But I see Councilman Camp, good afternoon, he served 5 terms. We know why the Republican council wasn't included, or the city council in Lincoln. We absolutely know why, because they wanted to target Mayor Byler. And if the Republican hierarchy that is behind this petition initiative, yes, they should do it in Omaha as well.
I won't comment on the city of Omaha or great mayor in Omaha, Jean Stothard, but I will say this. Lincoln is unique in that we have such a strong executive. Let me read from Jeff Kirkpatrick, the current city attorney's opinion letter to the council explaining this. The fundamental principle under this characterization, that of an autocratic mayor, is that the mayor should have ample power to control fully the administration of municipal affairs. The purpose of the autocratic mayor-council form of government is to give the office of the mayor all executive and administrative power and restrict the council to the exercise of legislative powers only. Now let me tell you what the definition of an autocrat is. A person, paren as a monarch, ruling with unlimited authority, one who has undisputed influence or power. That's the case for term limiting the mayor in Lincoln. That's not necessarily the same for Omaha or any other city in the state. But that's the case for limiting the mayor, because we've given the mayor, him or her, unlimited power, like a monarch. And every once in a while we should get to change our king, whether they want to be changed or not.
Ms. Neary, 30 seconds rebuttal if you like.
Sure. Voters can change their king without term limits. It's called voting, going to the ballot box, voting. Okay? And JL seems to be making a lot of fuss about this, whatever it is. But anyway, we as Americans are accustomed to different branches of government: the executive branch, the legislative branch, the judicial branch. And if he's telling you, I mean, Councilman Camp, do you think you have any power as an elected official on the city council?
You can't use him as a prop.
I'm sorry. Okay, that's fair. All right.
Mrs. Spray, 30 seconds.
I didn't want to prop.
I shouldn't have interrupted Kathleen.
That's okay.
We'll let it go at that. Take the next question.
All right, the next question is for Mr. Spray, Charlie Brooks.
You are supporting Senator Deb Fisher, I assume, for a term that
Yes,
has
I
been
am.
in office for 12 years. Congressman Adrian Smith has been in office for 12, Jeff Fortenberry for 14, John Gale, another Republican, just finishing a long term. Given your support for those office holders in the length of time they've been in office, why do you want to limit Lincoln's mayor to 8 or 12?
Well, the simple answer is this: the difference between an executive and a legislative. Now, in Nebraska, we've term limited our legislators. We had a large debate about it. The majority of people wanted to do that too. But at the federal level, we had a debate, I believe while Harry Truman was president, with unlimited opportunities to run, to limit the number of terms for the executive. In Nebraska, we've long limited the number of terms for the executive, and the next person with the most authority, the treasurer, who signs the checks. So I would distinguish between the executive and the legislative branch, where the legislative branch naturally has turnover just because of its numbers, but it also has a lot more turnover because of their mixed authority, their limited authority to having just one vote in a body of 49 or 100 or 435. And so it's an easy case to make, to have the distinction between the executive and the legislative, and I think in this case, especially under our current city charter and the way it's implemented, we need to have other limits on the mayor, such as term limits.
Ms. Neary, 90 seconds for you on that issue.
Right, interesting. So for Republicans in office, term limits should not be applied. For Democrats serving as mayor for the last 3 terms, being re-elected overwhelmingly by the Lincoln population, term limits apply. So we can talk about it a lot of different ways, but at the end of the day, why not Gene Stothard? Why not Republican Fortenberry? Why not Republican Fisher? Why not? Why? It's really obvious. The voters are really smart. They get it. You're really smart. You get it. It all comes down to dirty political tricks. And I want to say something really nice about JL, and in all honesty, I really mean this because he is my friend, and I respect him. We don't agree on a single issue. But JL is one of the premier election law attorneys in the state of Nebraska. And when you look at that petition, you know it's vague and ambiguous for a reason. The reason it had to be vague and ambiguous is to get people to sign it, to put it on the ballot. JL, you're a really good lawyer, and this was drafted this way, not telling the voters of this city that it was going to be retroactive.
Mr. Sprague, 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. She's wrong. There's nothing clever there. The charter gives us a number of qualifications: age, residency. This is simply another qualification. You're not qualified if you've been in office for 3 consecutive terms. It's not clever, I don't think, and it's certainly not meant to be vague or hard to read if you take the time to read the words on the petition.
Ms. Neary, 30 more seconds if you want.
Well, I guess I do take issue. I do think you are the preeminent campaign attorney, election law attorney in the state of Nebraska, and I can't envision a situation that you would draft something to be so vague and so ambiguous and not letting voters know that if they vote for term limits in November, that they will not be able to re-elect the mayor that has done so much for so many.
The next question will be from Jane Monick for Ms. Neary.
Well, we've been talking about city councils. There's going to be an effort now to limit city council members in their limits, in their term limits.
JL, I'll defer my time to you.
I had a real limited purpose, and let me go back to something very specific, very demonstrative of the whole situation. In 2017-16, the city council had trouble getting a budget passed and a levy determined. They voted a levy and a budget by majority votes, but the mayor vetoed what they were doing because it didn't match what he wanted done. It cut $2 million out of the budget. So what did the mayor do? He went to the Lancaster County District Court and sued our city council. And he sued them to coerce them, have a judge order them with contempt of court if they didn't do it, to pass legislation that they didn't agree with. And Judge Robot, my friend Judge Robot, says in his order, the mayor's proposed budget was deemed to have been adopted by the council. And it was deemed to be adopted because it was his budget and they didn't change it by a 5-vote margin overriding his veto. He goes on to say the council has a ministerial duty to pass the levy at the same amount. So what he did at the mayor's request was force them to pass a budget, the mayor's budget, and then force them to pass a levy to match by judicial action. If that's not power, I don't know what is.
Oh, you actually got to the alarm that time.
Sorry.
Good job, you nailed it. Ms. Neary, 30 seconds in rebuttal.
We're not here to talk about policy or not, but the city councils members I know, Cindy Lamb, John Camp, I don't know him well, but I've taken some questions from you before, and in a city council meeting, and I don't know any of the city council members that would be subject to coercion. Right? They all have a pretty big backbone. And when you have a judge affirming it, it may not like the result, but that's the rule of law.
Mr. Spray, 30 seconds for you.
Well, going to the judge and asking them to order them to vote against their conscience or go to jail, if that's not coercion, then I'm not sure what coercion could possibly be, because it's intended to be coercive by its nature.
That's criminal.
All right.
Civil.
Let's move on. Next question will be for Mr. Spray. Charlie, go ahead.
Was this proposed change offered to Lincoln's Charter Revision Commission for review through its normal process and discussion among its members? If so, what was the result? And if not, why not?
To accomplish term limits, we have to do a number of things that are not the normal course or the polite course or the logical course, and it's taking a proposal to a committee made of appointees of the mayor and no one else, and asking them to pass on it is sort of ridiculous waste of time, I think. So we're going to come to the chase. Let me tell you the genesis of our right to do this, to pass an amendment to the charter. The state constitution of the state of Nebraska provides that if 5% of the voters from a past election sign a petition, and the matter shall be on the ballot. And it's just that simple. We can talk about limits in the state statutes, we can talk about limits in the city ordinances, etc., but this is a constitutional right we're exercising to circulate, to get signatures, to validate, and to submit to the voters this decision. And I think that's the other important thing. None of us in the room alone are going to make this decision. It's going to be the voters, the citizens of Lincoln, who are going to decide if they want to limit the power of the mayor in this community.
Ms. Neary, 90 seconds on the same question.
Our Charter Revision Commission is made up of people from all walks of life. All genders, races, ethnicities, ages, comes from all walks of life. In fact, I'm a member of the Charter Revision Commission. And our charter is Lincoln's Constitution, and it should not be amended willy-nilly. The Charter Revision Commission will methodically go through proposed changes, have public hearings, so the voters in the city can actually have some input. And if it was coming through the Charter Revision Commission, my guess is that they would have made it that the wording on this would have been very clear that this applies retroactively to the city mayor of the city of Lincoln. But they chose to bypass public comment and submit it just weeks before the deadline so they can sneak it on and limit voters' right to choose the candidate of their choice.
Mr. Spray, 30 seconds to rebut if you'd like.
I've sat through more than my share of painful public hearings in the city, but I would dare to say there are more people in this room hearing this debate than there are at a Charter Revision Commission hearing. And we're having the debate. And we're having the debate publicly and openly where people can have a choice and can make their decision and decide whether this is the right thing to do. And we haven't even started the public debate on this, the discourse that will go with the campaign. This is just the beginning, getting access to the ballot.
Ms. Neary, 30 seconds for you if you'd like.
And we're having this debate on the very day that JL tells us that the petitions, those very confusing, those very vague, those very misleading petitions are being submitted. It's a little late in the day to have this debate.
We're going to get another question from Charlie Brogan here, this time for Ms. Neary first.
Any potential or likely candidates participate in either forming this petition or forming the opposition to it?
Will you make sure any potential mayoral candidates who would have been involved with this?
Well, anybody's a potential mayoral candidate. Jack is a potential candidate, but any likely or obvious candidates participate in the formation of either one of your strategies or the writing of the petition?
I don't have firsthand knowledge, but I have very reasonable basis to believe that a potential candidate was absolutely involved and knew that they couldn't win it on their own against Chris Pfeiffer and ask for some help, right? Ask for some help. And that's when this petition initiative was born. Okay? And what I can say is anyone who is elected official in the city of Lincoln thinking about running for mayor or city council, knowing what you know now about the timing of this, the lack of transparency, the misleading statements by petition circulators, if you are in favor of good government and fair and honest elections, I would encourage each and every one of you, mayoral candidate, city council candidate, any sitting officer, that you denounce this. Not just to your spouse, but you publicly denounce this and call it, like the Lincoln Journal-Star editorial board did, shameful. And if you're not willing to do that, to ensure fair elections and good government, I think you really need to think long and hard about whether you should be a candidate for elective office here in the city of Lincoln.
You spoke for Mr. Spray's side, but what about your side? Any obvious or likely candidates participate in your opposition strategy?
Not that I'm aware of. Again, I'm not part of the campaign, Mayor Piper's staff.
Mr. Spray, 90 seconds on that same question.
Here it is from the horse's mouth. Matt Ennis called me on the telephone about 45 days ago, 30 days ago. He says, can we do this? Is it possible? I pulled out my law book that sits behind my desk because I'm old-fashioned. I pulled out my city charter book, which is down the hall, and I looked it up, and I figured it out. And you know what? We could. I said, Matt, we can do this. We'll need to raise some money. We'll need to get some signatures. Here's the number. But yeah, we can do this. He said, would you draft it? I drafted the words. No consultation from any elected official. None. And to date, I don't think we received a contribution from any elected official. But that's how it happened. That's the honest truth. Now, here's the question. Who organized the press conference the Sunday after we announced we were going to the street? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm guessing the mayor's staff was involved. They get to do that, I suppose, because it's a city charter. Is the city attorney involved? You betcha. If we litigate this, who's going to come on behalf of the mayor? It'll be the city attorney on your dime. See, it's not easy to fight that kind of power. And it's significant when you appoint every administrative head without, in a lot of positions, what do you have to have? Confirmation. We're waiting for confirmations in Washington a whole lot off. Here, you anoint the person who's going to be the city attorney, the city clerk, the city official. It's all from the mayor, an autocratic mayor.
Ms. Neary, 30 seconds for your rebuttal.
Fighting the power. Let's talk about that, JL. Do I have to remind you that the Republicans hold every federal office, every state office, every state constitutional office? They hold the city of the mayor's office in Omaha. So let's not talk about fighting the power. Why don't you do it fair and square through the ballot box rather than through an ambiguous and misleading petition initiative? And talking about litigate this, there have been some litigation across the nation, and I'm going to tell you about it when I have a chance.
Mr. Spray, 30 seconds for your rebuttal.
Well, I'll simply say this. In the state of Nebraska, in the system we have, there are co-equal branches of government. Here, there are two branches plus the judicial branch that you can appeal to, but they're not at all equal, the legislative and the executive. They're disproportionately skewed in every single respect, especially about your money, in favor of the executive. And that's the case for term limiting the mayor in Lincoln under our city charter.
All right, we are up to a half hour now, so we're going to go into our closing statement. So if you've got anything else left that you want to touch on, we'll give you 90 seconds each of you. I believe Ms. Neary went first for the question, so Mr. Spray, you can go first on the closing statement.
Good lawyers always like to go last. I see Kathleen with her chops here thinking she's going to really nail me now. But let's go to this. Ward acted, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. If you don't want to take it from him, here's George Lucas. The story being told in Star Wars is a classic one. Every few hundred years, the story is retold because we have a tendency to do the same things over and over again. Power corrupts, and when you're in charge, you start doing things that you think are right, but they're actually not. George Lucas. So, the point is this. If you can't accomplish what you want to do as mayor, even if you're running the ship right, but if you can't accomplish your goals in 12 years, how how much longer do you need? You know, is the ball moving? Are the big reasons we voted for the mayor in the first instance? Has it changed? What's going on? And I think, if you think about it, 12 years is long enough. If you're really going to try to affect change to do it, 12 years is long enough for one person to control all the levers of power in the city and control how city government's operated, whether you're doing a good job or a lousy job.
Ms. Neary, 90 seconds for your closing
Yes,
statement.
thank you. I wanted to tell you briefly about some litigation. These dirty political tricks have been tried in other jurisdictions across the nation. One particular is Oregon. In that case, they did the retroactive, we're going to fool the voters, petitioning initiative for term limits. The Oregon court found that it was unconstitutional, it was illegal. All they're doing is, again, just like those Oregon folks that wanted to do term limits, we're going to try to fool the voters. But Lincoln voters are smart, and they're not going to be fooled. And when he says we need to not have a king, you know what? Let's let the voters decide. Can we do that? If Mayor Meitler is doing the great job that he's done in the past and continues to do it in the future, let's let the voters decide if they want to continue him in office. The ballot box is very powerful. Don't play dirty tricks. We're smarter than that.
All right, we're going to have hours, I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but let's give,
Can I just try one thing?
No.
Can't we all agree that we all should vote, register to vote, encourage our friends to vote? Isn't that the point of the whole exercise?